Yeah, sure. So I have one question. For example, if a vendor really want to use Ariba, for example, if they are a one-time vendor so they don't want to afford Ariba access. You know, getting some spending, some money. So still can we create an ID and send this purchase through a network mode? Yeah, I got your point. So it's a very good question. Valid question also. So there are two types of accounts that are available in Supplier. As soon as Supplier is registered in Ariba, it is called Lite account or Standard account. Earlier they used to call that as a Lite account. Now it is called a Standard account. Then the second account will be Enterprise account. The first one is free of cost, where you register with the supplier. Whatever the quotations coming from your supplier, you can respond. I have a number of questionnaires coming or a number of RFPs coming. You can participate. There is no need to pay any charge. The second one is an enterprise account. If you are migrating from standard account to enterprise account, you will get additional benefits. What is those benefits? You can do the invoicing in Ariba itself and you will be knowing the payment status instantly on Ariba. You can also have discount pricing and other features are available and you will get support priority over the standard account. If you want to go with this, then there is some nominal amount need to be paid, based on your volume of transaction or volume of your invoice. How much value of your invoices for a particular period, based on some percentages. Again, the percentage change from region to region. In which region he is registering. Based on that local region, he has to pay the charges. If you don't want to pay this charge and he wants to use his own invoicing system, then he can still with only Lite account and Standard account where he can able to receive the purchase address, and he can also participate in RFP and RFIs or auctions also. Or if we want to totally avoid registering into SAP Ariba, then the supplier where you are having a local supplier whenever you are sending a purchase order, the purchase order will not go to the supplier. You have to take a printout and send to the supplier and mark the purchase address manually sent to the vendor. Then you close that order status as an order status. So initially, when onboarding the supplier, we don't have any details. Maybe the details which we discussed in the mail or via phone. Those are the basic details, right? The form which I have mentioned during supplier accreditation. That is your details. Whatever you are entering in this form, only that is available and that is available for buyer only. The buyer as soon as he knows his limited information email address location. Maybe he will not be knowing much detail. With these details, we will create the supplier. During supplier registering over Ariba, he will enter all other details. Again, that details are not relevant to us. We just need to have a supplier name only. We don't care whether he is located in different country. That doesn't matter, because for us his ANID is important. Where the purchase address has to be received by the supplier. That is our goal. Yes, sir. So here we are sending the invoice right. So that vendor will be receiving an email notification. So you told that you will be registering and completing the registration step by providing some information to the vendor. So just what username and password we will be using to log in into Ariba and to email. Because this is something you need to log into. SAP. Again, not relevant to us. Whatever he wants to create, it will give the option. Whether he can maintain his email address as a username or he can create a new as per his willing. He can create one username and he can assign it also. Also in his account he will be adding multiple usernames also, like not one person is using. He will be having user management administration. He can decide who is the administrator. Buyer 1, Buyer 2, Buyer 3. He can create different logins for different people also. They can also log in and you can also restrict the access. Maybe Buyer 1 cannot communicate with this particular supplier. Buyer 2 cannot communicate with this supplier. All these things are possible under his access. In the supplier network. In his control he is able to do that. Yeah, okay. And the supplier in test is free only. You can create multiple suppliers and do practice. There is no harm. As soon as you want. You can create many email IDs. You can create and you can do work with. We are going to see that. Let's take you to the Ariba screen. We are seeing Ariba screen. So the first step in supplier management will be creating a supplier request. Before that, I just want to show you what is supplier 360-degree profile. So here, as we have seen this menu option by clicking on here. Now, whatever you're seeing is procurement invoicing, catalytic. That means again, if you see the U.R.L, you can see that we are in a downstream. Supplier management is a upstream activity, but that you need to switch over to the parent site by clicking on the site option. Madam Beauty. OK. By clicking on supplier management. You can see automatically once you log into parent set. It is having sourcing contract supplement. So in few projects we don't have this parent and child combination. It's like a single system, exactly. You don't need to click this one. You will be having all these options here. Yeah. So whenever we're clicking supply, it will just show the sourcing. And whenever we are going into buyer site, maybe procurement, it will just add it. Yes. That will change in the URL bar. Whatever transaction you're clicking, automatically it will switch over from upstream to downstream. For example, from here, if you're clicking procurement, it will take you to the buyer. If you're clicking some contract, it will come to source. OK. So this is Supplier 360 dashboard or Supplier Management dashboard. Now you can see, luckily, this supplier. This time I'm having 476 supplier requests and which are accessible for this particular user. So in real time, whenever supplier request he is creating, he can only see how many he has created. Now that, as an administrator, we can have all the details, but the person who is requesting, he will only see how many number of users he has requested and what are in registration status. How many are in qualification. By this you can able to, as a supplier management role, you can perform the activities completing supplier request, registration, qualification and preferential. I'm just selecting any one of the supplier, or you can also search here, enter supplier name or ID, whichever you want to do, you can able to do that. By just clicking on the company name, it will take you to the supplier's 360-degree profile. Since it is in the process, it is showing or it is directing to the process. Click on View Supplier Profile. This is the supplier, 360-degree profile. GK Healthcare Private Limited. So what is his registration status? What is his preferred status? ERP integration. If small information gather, will be on your homepage itself. To see this supplier. What is his status? What are all the supplier IDs? So SM Vendor ID is Spend Management Vendor ID, which is Local Vendor ID. When you are integrating with your ERP, what is the ID which is associated with SAP in your external system? That ID and AN ID of the supplier. You can see -T, that means it is a test. In production, you will not see this -T. ASM ID, again, it is an internal Ariba ID. If there is a risk associated, then you will be seeing this. Otherwise, you will not see this option. On the left-hand side the process. You can see Supplier Request. When you click this one. So what was the name supplier during the form I mentioned, right? What is the details you entered in the form? It will give you the details. Once you click on Registration, it will give you the details of the registration. So who has approved it? What is the current status? Why it is not approved? How many questionnaires are sent during registration process? These are all the approval tasks that you can see from registration questionnaires and processes. Processes is an advanced functionality. Instead of following the process, you can create one process with multiple options.